Butler right now is exhausted with 46.7 remaining.
How's it hanging, Heat Nation? Welcome to Culture Shock, the first ever all-female Miami Heat NBA podcast. I'm your host, Clippy, and I'm joined by my other host,
Kaylee. And today we have a very, very special guest, Allana.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I think we should just jump right into it. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, obviously, with the Utah game last night. 27-point lead. Of course, we already know what happened. We only won by, 6, 7, 8, around there. So I wanted to quickly talk about our inconsistency as a team and how we're doing with not being able to close out games. So, Kaylee, start us off. What do you think about the inconsistency in the Heat, and do you think it's a problem, or do you think we're okay?
Yeah, so like that game too, like we started off kind of good. It was almost kind of exciting when we had like, I think at one point it was like 100 to like 70, and I was like, love that score. I was like, that's a great vibe, you know. But all of a sudden, always in the fourth or like in the end of the third, they give us this little scare where they just choke for some reason. And I remember too, like, I think one of the main things is that the Jazz wouldn't like miss any shots towards the end. They weren't missing anything. And it's like, what's going on there?
Everything they threw up was going in.
Yeah. So, and I feel like I'm really wondering like what could help us as a team to like avoid doing those really weird closeouts. But like at the same time, it's like, maybe it was because Jimmy wasn't there. That's a good consideration. Like maybe if Jimmy was there, he could have changed it up and maybe really would have helped officially like lock it down. But I could be fatigue. I'm not sure, to be honest.
I mean, I don't really think it would be fatigue, considering we're like, the toughest, most trained, conditioned team in the NBA. I don't know if it's the leadership issue with the Jimmy Butler not being there. I don't really think it's the leadership issue because, with the vets that we do have, I don't think it's that. I honestly don't have no guesses as to what it could possibly be, why we're so inconsistent, why we can't close out games. So I have no idea. Allana, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's weird because like half of me thinks it's a Spo issue, and I love Spo. Like he's elite, top 3 always, and I would not trade him for the world. But there's sometimes when I'm just like, his lineups are questionable, his rotations are questionable. And it's more so that it's almost not like the ability to adjust. He gets tunnel vision. And if he wants to stick to the plan, like regardless of what's happening in the game, he sticks to that plan. So I feel like sometimes when we start kind of losing a lead and things kind of get away from us, instead of making the adjustment, he's in the mindset of like, well, it was working until now, so we're just going to power through it. I think there's something to that, and it kind of goes hand in hand, which I'm sure we'll talk about, like the Duncan situation where it's like he just needs to keep shooting to get better. But you also need to keep in mind that sometimes like working through things isn't the way to go, and you have to like adjust here and there. So I feel like that's mostly it. The other part of it is I don't know if it's like a mental thing where it's like they're confident, they're up, they got it, and they kind of start hitting cruise control, which you can't do because this is the NBA. Anything can happen. Yep. So I guess I'm just kind of like teetering on both of those things, but it does seem to be a reoccurring theme like year after year. So it's weird because it doesn't seem to matter like who's on the team or who's kind of the leadership behind that. Obviously, Jimmy has kind of taken over as like a closer, but at the same time, we can't rely on that. Like he's going to be out here and there for rest or God forbid an injury or protocol or whatever. So we just need to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Spo issue, I'm gonna agree with you on that 100% because there's some lineups there that are so like questionable on his part. And yeah, definitely when he sees something working, he wants to keep making sure that works. And when it doesn't, he's like, oh, but like you said, it was working before, so of course it has to work now. No, definitely not.
Didn't Spo get like a technical that game too?
Last game versus Utah?
I think, right?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think so. So I didn't get home until like the second half, but I was kind of following along on Twitter, and I think I saw that Spo got teed up. I just don't know for what.
Yeah, I think he was just like yelling, like maybe going onto the court yelling. I don't know what it was, but I think
and that's the thing. You can tell he's getting frustrated. So it's not like he's not aware of what's going on, but I think his mentality is kind of like, all right, guys, figure it out and push through it, which again, sometimes that is the right call. But there's times when like, I just feel like it's obvious that like a player's body language isn't there, or he is getting tired, or like two guys just aren't coexisting properly. And that's the point where I'm just kind of like, all right, do something, like switch something up, even if it's just for a couple of minutes. And then you go back to your original plan just to kind of like give them a break or what have you. And again, people keep coming after me like that I'm a Spo hater. I love him. I would not want any other coach, but like there are things that I feel like he needs to work on.
Yeah. I mean, it's criticism. We should be like, it's just criticism.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like that's it. Like, and I'm not a coach. I'm not trying to pretend I know what I'm talking about to that extent, but like, it's kind of obvious when, again, I think the point of it not mattering who's on the team, like if the coach is the same, that's kind of what you have to kind of like start pointing the finger at, because it's not personnel necessarily.
Yeah, it's definitely not our players. I mean, look at what we did in the first 2 quarters. It definitely could be an Eric Spoelstra issue. Some of the lineups, like I said, were just like, there's Gabe Vincent, Dedmon, Caleb Martin on the floor. There's not really a leader out there. You know what I mean? They're throwing Tyler Hero to like do everything, and it's just it obviously didn't work. You know what I mean? I always think we should have at least one leader on the floor, maybe to calm heads and calm everyone down. But with the Duncan Robinson thing, that's obviously a huge topic that has been circling Twitter for weeks now with his inconsistency. Finally, you know, last night he goes, I think 6 from 11 from 3 points. So it's like, is he back? Is this going to last? Is he going to be consistent? I'm not worried because shooters shoot, of course. I mean, I was worried. I was, you know, telling him I hated him on Twitter. I didn't mean that, obviously. I apologize. But
did you directly at him?
No.
Okay, well then you're fine, because like, you know, it's like it never happened.
Heat of the moment. It was just heat of the moment. I know a lot of Heat fans are like deleting tweets now and like getting scared because all these tweets are gonna come up.
I respect you like just putting it out there, because like you're I own the fact that I did that. Yeah, people who are like, oh, I believe the whole time. I'm like, really? Because I can go pull up 7 of your tweets in the last 2 weeks.
I'll own it. I'll own it 100%. Yeah, I definitely apologize. I hope he stays consistent. I mean, we all know he's one of the greatest shooters of all time, truly. So many records he broke last season to this season is looking kind of slow, but I have hopes for him. Do you guys have hopes? What do you guys think in the Duncan Robinson situation?
Yeah, like I feel like he, if anything, he kind of proved that bullying works last night. Like, after like all this like what's it called backlash that he's gotten, it's like, okay, fine, I need to show up, and he actually started showing up. I don't know what it was. Could be the bullying. Could just
I don't know what clicked.
Maybe he just had a good night. I don't know, but I enjoyed watching it. If anything, it was almost like he finally clocked into work. Happy you're here. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like Allana, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't worried from the standpoint of like shooters go through slumps, and the only way to get through it is to keep shooting. And I think that's what was really annoying me, was that there were all these comments going around like, okay, just bench him for a while. And it's like, what is that going to do? First of all, it's clearly a mental thing. It's a mental block. So you benching him is going to make him feel worse. It also has to do with muscle memory. So if he's not out there shooting, like what's going to happen? And I understand like at times he was kind of a liability. For me, the bigger problem was like, fine, your shot wasn't falling, but then you were racking up like 5-6 fouls. Like we can't have you fouling out if you're also not contributing with your shot. So that was kind of my problem, where I'm like, all right, it's not falling, like figure something out, contribute in another way. I am glad he's back. I hope that it's going to like stick around, because I think if we would have had more games like this, like if we hit like 15, 18 games of him being cold, then you start to think, okay, what do we do? To me, it's not about the money. It's not about the contract. It's just like, we need you to do what you're here for. And if you're not doing it and you're not playing good defense and you're fouling out, then like kind of what's the point? But hopefully he's back and it sticks. But the criticism was wild. People were like, I'm unsubscribing to like the podcast. And it's just like, can we calm down? Like y'all are doing the most.
Yeah, it was brutal. They were under his YouTube comments, like, delete your podcast right now. Like,
living in bad
it's literally just extracurricular.
Yeah.
Like, I promise you, this has nothing to do with his shot. Like, I promise you. Like,
It's just, really it's wild to me when people like concoct those narratives of like what you're doing off the court. It's just like, these are professionals. They've also been playing basketball legitimately their whole lives. If you think that sitting down and recording a podcast has anything to do with what you're doing on the court, like you just don't understand basketball. Like the same thing with the Tyler thing. People being like, oh yeah, him getting his own cereal. Like what? Him making like a business deal on the side has literally nothing to do with his game. His role was just not defined well. And he was like hitting a slump. Like I don't understand that. Okay, it's funny to a certain extent, just being like, oh, I'm canceling the pod, like we're not listening, but like the comments and the ratings, it's just like, are we really this group of people?
Yeah, it was, we got pretty brutal. I saw some pretty brutal tweets to Duncan, which is like, he obviously sees that. We obviously know it's mental because, you know, as a shooter, that is so good. That doesn't go away. You know, mechanics, they never go away. That's forever. That's imprinted in his brain. So it's definitely mental. I heard someone say he needed therapy. I was like, I guess, you know, maybe, but I don't think it was to that extent. But he also sees what we say for sure. You know what I mean? And that also affects your game. If all of your supporters are saying, you know, do something, cancel your pod, or
right. And like, you know,
you.
I don't obviously know him personally, but we saw the way he reacted around the trade deadline. Like both him and Tyler, you know, had those mental blocks around there. And it's probably because, like, I mean, if you're sitting there not even sure of what your future is going to hold. So if we already see that he's the type of guy, and I'm not saying he's not tough, but like he's already the type of guy to be affected in that way. We saw it last year. Like, maybe let's not go after him in that way, thinking that that's going to help. And it was the same thing with like people saying pull him. That's Spo loves him. He's not going to go and pull Duncan to make him feel worse about himself. He's going to leave him out there. He's going to be a liability. He's going to get those fouls, and Spo's just going to be like, I have to do this because you're going to have to find your way out of this by yourself. So I don't know. I just feel like if history taught us anything, it's that like Duncan does get in his head. So like, I don't think all the criticism is going to help, but he worked through it, and I hope it's here to stay.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the only way to work through something is to go through it. But him on defense, I actually wanted to talk about that because there has been some plays that Duncan has that actually amaze me. Like, I remember he had a block on, I think it was like Jokic or something, and then he comes back, shoots a three. He was obviously still in that slump, but I've seen some defensive, actually good things from him on the defensive end, a couple blocks, but the foul trouble is definitely concerning 100%. With the Tyler Hero thing, I don't know what Heat Nation thought by taking Duncan Robinson out of the starting lineup and putting Tyler in when Tyler Hero is made to be a six-man clearly. So I don't know if it's because they don't know basketball or it's just they were just so mad at Duncan Robinson that they just wanted him out of the lineup, and it wasn't going to work. Let's be honest.
The plug and chug mentality of people just kills me because I'm like, they're literally not the same player at all.
At all.
Yeah, at all.
At all. So you are completely changing your offense if you swap them out. And people are just like, no, it's 1-for-1. And it's just like, how do you think that's how this works? Like, first of all, no two players really will be 1-for-1. But especially when you have a guy like Duncan who's a 3-point specialist and like that's about it right now, how are you going to put Tyler in? And then what happens to your second unit? You think Duncan's going to give you the same spark? Like that's just a crazy argument.
Exactly. Having Tyler Hero in the starting lineups the last couple games, our points off the bench have been super, super low because obviously there is no bench, basically. So it's like, I don't know what people expected. But I do want to talk about someone in particular that is the offensive rebounding machine of PJ Tucker. He has contributed the greatest defense I have seen, and I am just so in love with him. I've been in love with him since they signed him. I loved him since he was in Milwaukee. I need your thoughts on PJ Tucker. What do you guys think? Do you think that he can average more points? Because I think he averages something around 6 to 8 points per game, which is fine. I mean, we don't need him to produce 20 points per game. What he's doing is perfectly effective and fine. We're winning games. But his offensive rebound is off the charts. It's insane. So what do you guys think? Kaylee, what do you think about PJ Tucker?
Like, dude, whenever we got him in the trade, I was like, oh, it's over. I was like, we literally have PJ. Are you kidding? You know what I mean? Like, I was super hyped when we got him because I was like, that's a really good pickup that I don't think people are freaking out about, because like just won a championship. Now he's going to Miami. Like, do you think he's going to relax? No, he's like, let me go for another because I want to I know this team can, So, and he's also has the dog mentality. Again, that's great for our little kennel. But like him being a star that he is and showing that off last night was amazing to see. I was like, yeah, guess what? We have PJ Tucker. I don't know if you knew about that, So, hitting shots is the great thing he does with those like corner threes and then just like little sneaky ones that he just gets in there. I'm like, yeah, I love
those little floaters.
Oh, the floater!
It's little floaters.
Up,
yeah, it's like, and it's so weird because he turns and looks at the basket and he's like, am I gonna shoot it? And then he just does this floater and he makes it, and it's just like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, he's been a joy to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a fan, Alana, of PJ, so I can't wait to hear what you.
Yeah, I tweeted this out earlier. I'm just sitting here looking at my timeline like, oh, y'all, now you're fans. Now you know he's on the team and what he can do. And like I felt the same way. When we signed him, I was over the moon. First of all, he's coming off a championship. Clearly he's hungry. Second of all, it's PJ Tucker. Like, how are you not excited? Forget about what was going on in terms of like on the court, but like his mentality alone fits this team so perfectly. And I don't know what people expect out of him. It's like what I don't understand is people have these narratives for players, and if they don't meet them, suddenly they're not good. But I'm like, your narrative is concocted in your own head. Like, did you think that PJ was going to come in and give you 25 a night? That's not what he does. Why are we all expecting him to come out and be like another Duncan? Like, everyone was saying like, oh, his threes aren't falling. And I'm like, all right, he does hit the corner three well, but that's not what he's here for. Yeah. He is here for the defense. He's here to just like make other guys better on top of it. And he'll hit a few. But yeah, I'm super excited for him. I mean, I'm glad people are now showing love, but like, it's kind of fraudulent. And I'm just like, can we at least admit that you weren't high on him and now you're excited? Like, don't go in there being like, yeah, we have PJ, we're great. And it's just like, where was this when we signed him?
Yeah, exactly. They have to own up to, how they felt. But I was excited. I mean, coming off a championship, he could bring that leadership also. He's won a championship, so he has experience, being in the finals, especially with such a good team, like with Giannis and all that. But man, he is so good on defense, and the way he gets these offensive rebounds, the putback dunk versus the Lakers, was it that actually kept us in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone was tweeting like, "Oh man, I thought that was Bam," and I was like, "Nah, that was PJ. Open your eyes, like PJ can do that.
Wake up." Yeah, no, definitely. He's always grabbing boards, which is great because he's giving us those extra points, and now obviously helps us win games. So he's really giving us production that we didn't know that he was actually. Well, we knew he was actually going to give us. Yeah. Everyone else actually didn't. But I do want to talk about the East. Maybe we could go into some detail about the East because it's looking a little crazy out there. I think the Wizards are topping the charts, and that's a little odd considering I actually watched them last night. They look like a pretty decent team. They have a couple of decent players. I saw Kyle Kuzma, playing outstanding.
He's refreshed. Like, he's like, I'm going to show you guys that all that shit talking, like, he's ready to go.
Yeah, he was like, LeBron for him. Mm-hmm. So, but and Bradley Beal, is finally playing on a good team, which we all wanted, of course, for a long time. The Bulls are looking great. The Hornets are like a sleeper team. They could come up and they could beat really good teams. So I want to see what you guys think about the East. What are your picks? Who do you think can beat the Miami Heat from the East? Let's be honest.
I think I noticed that I think the Nets also got I think second now because of all the losses that the rest of us have done. But it's kind of interesting how the Nets are kind of sloppily kind of making their way up again. I feel like that was a team that we thought they should be fine. They should be at least top 3. But because they're shaky, it gives me hope that whenever the Heat go against them, we can beat them in the games that we need. If as long as Kyrie's not there, I guess. So
Kyrie's a big piece.
Yeah,
Kyrie's not coming. Kyrie's gonna die on this weird ass hill that he has going on.
Yep. That's for damn sure. I don't know why it's and I understand. Everyone has a choice, and I'll stand by that, and I understand that. But it is your job. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're a basketball player, but I mean, you stand by what you stand by. I have no opinion on that.
It's the reasoning to me, though. It's just that I feel like he kind of flopped, flip-flopped, where it's like he came out just saying kind of, it's everyone's personal choice, which I respect. But now he's like, I'm fighting the good fight against the mandate for other people. And it's like, I'm sorry, what is you sitting out doing for anyone else? You literally aren't doing your job. So you're not helping your organization and your teammates, but you're not actually helping anyone else. Are you trying to get legislator moving? I just don't. That's what bothers me is he's trying to be this activist, but he's actually not doing anything except for just sitting out.
Yeah, it's definitely turning very political. And every time it turns political, I am out because I don't need to know about any of that. I'm here to watch basketball.
Yeah, and then if anything, we're kind of forgetting about him. It's I almost forgot about Kyrie multiple times.
I forgot about the Nets, honestly. I'm just they're an afterthought. Yeah,
I feel like they haven't really been getting big media attention. at all. Like, I don't even know what their record is. I barely even see them on nationally televised games. Well, of course, they have a bunch of televised games, but I don't know.
I mean,
I don't really see them going far in the East.
unless it's like those like bad clips of like James Harden like
I was
giving up
gonna
on a
say, 'cause,
play.
yeah, like and the new foul calls now, like
My
he
favorite
can't,
thing.
like he can't play anymore because that's what he was banking on.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. The new foul call has changed the game completely. I love how the game is being played now. It's actually being played like it's supposed to, and that James Harden is not being able to get all the shots that he was getting. It's great. It makes the Nets bad, and that's good for us, obviously.
Those
But
calls made like James Harden go in shambles. Like now he doesn't know what to do.
yeah,
No, because his
world
game is
crashing.
like gone now. That's what he was relying on, and now
Yep.
he's like, okay, now I have to shift back to actually playing basketball. It's like, remember those days when you used to do that?
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
between that and Kyrie, like yeah, they're kind of imploding. I don't trust them. Like I don't trust that they can stay consistent at all.
Yeah, definitely not. I don't even think. I think if the Heat, play them in a 7-game series in the playoffs, I think we have a good chance of winning that series. Definitely, I don't see anybody in the East beating the Heat. I mean, of course, I will 100% say I am biased. I will forever be biased. I will always think that Heat will beat everyone, even though in reality sometimes they will not be able to. But yes, I am biased. More about the East and the Bulls. I just love the Bulls right now. I love watching them play. They obviously got murdered by the Warriors the other day, but they are
Just
the
a little.
Warriors. It is Steph
It's the
Curry, just a
Warriors.
little bit, just a tad.
Yeah.
So
It was a scheduled loss though for them.
yeah. I mean, considering how the Warriors are playing, definitely. But the Bulls look good. The Hornets look good. I don't really know anyone else in the East. Do you guys have any sleeper picks you think that we should watch out for in the East?
I mean, well, I'm also a Sixers fan. Alana, I don't know if you know this. Like,
Oh, I did not.
yeah, so like I'm a Sixers fan as well. But it sucks how even though like everyone's like out like when it comes to sickness, like everyone's out of COVID and some injuries. So we don't have Embiid, like they don't have Embiid and they don't have Matisse. They don't have like a lot of key players that they normally have. But somehow with bench, they're still like teetering and not losing. Like I mean, they're losing, but they're not losing by like a lot, So it's like I feel like once they get back, maybe their starters, it could be a different story, So like I'm really curious to see like later down the line in the season if maybe they will be something of a threat for the Heat at least, because it's like you never really know, especially if they're really good with bench. And then with the whole Ben situation, I don't even want to talk about that.
Do you think he's coming back?
I think that's what it's going to depend on. And not even in terms of like having him like on the court, but like it has just been such a media circus that I'm sure it's hard for the rest of the team to focus on anything.
Yeah. And they've been definitely. They've been like really, really good troopers with the whole Ben situation. Like they literally just erased him basically. And like, we're like, yeah, who was Ben? Like we're fine. And it's like, okay, I hope you're good. But yeah, like this, and the whole Ben situation reminds me of whole Kyrie. I'm like, I don't know what you're dying on this hill for when you're just losing money.
Yeah,
and the weird thing there is just like once we start talking about mental health, I'm like, should we be like putting out this information? Like it all seems very like it makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, if he's using it as an excuse, that is BS because there's people who are really struggling with mental health issues. But if he's not, then it's just like, all right, should we be talking about this? Like if he actually needs help. So I just don't know like which way to go. And I'm like, I would rather just not know anything until they've made a definitive one way or another he's coming back or he's not.
Yeah, they should have kept everything under wraps over there, especially with the mental health thing. That's tough. I know that a couple years back, Kevin Love was like the first advocate for that mental health thing, which should definitely get a bigger spotlight in the NBA because just because they're basketball players doesn't mean they're not people. They obviously go through things, especially mentally tough, challenging things. Yeah. So the NBA needs to do something to take care of their players mentally because if Ben Simmons is telling the truth and it's a mental health issue, it's obviously, serious because he still hasn't came to work. He still hasn't played.
I was
actually
surprised, like to your point that they didn't kind of keep it more under wraps because, K Love came out. I think DeMar was another guy who came out about it. But then the NBA, I think, got a little better during the bubble when guys were talking, like Paul George was saying that it was like a really hard environment. So it's like we got that far. And after all that, now you're just like, oh, okay, well, let's just like release all this stuff about like a player who like may or may not be dealing. And it's just like, what are we doing? Like, I thought we like were making progress and now you're like taking it 10 steps back. It's weird.
Yeah. I will forever be an advocate for the mental health, especially with the players. That needs a bigger light. It needs a bigger spotlight, 100%. these players, we don't know what they go through. I mean, we don't know what happens behind closed doors. So us being really mean to them, I don't really think that helps the situation at all. But hopefully, I hope Ben Simmons, I hate the 76ers with a passion, like with a
This is a
burning
good
passion.
dynamic here
It
then.
really is.
Yeah, with a burning passion. So, I mean, obviously, I don't wish Ben Simmons the worst. I hope he comes back. It would be a great matchup to see the 76ers versus the Heat.
Yeah.
They've always been, a team to beat us in the playoffs. So that would be fun to watch. But I do want to shift over maybe to the West a little bit, talk about the West. Because I know us being in the East, we don't really focus on the West that much. And I do want to talk about the West because we already know the Warriors are, in my opinion, coming out of the West so far of what we've seen. The Lakers are definitely a disappointment. The Clippers are a little bit of a shocker to me because they're on like a 6-7 game win streak, I think. I believe.
Don't think about the Clippers ever. I'm like, oh, there's another team in LA. Like we played them, and I was just like, oh yeah, this team exists.
Yeah, like
and then
who
they
is
showed
this?
like Kawhi on the bench. I'm like, right, Kawhi's a player.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what. Maybe it's just me, but I give zero thought to the Clippers ever.
Yeah, same. When we played them, I was like, oh, that's right, they exist.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even know Kawhi was injured. I had no idea he tore his ACL. I was like, oh, that happened. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like I had no, but I mean, they did fairly well considering, not having Kawhi. Paul George is having a great season, MVP caliber season, which everybody hates Paul George for some weird reason. I don't know why. He's a great player.
Yeah.
The
But
Clippers.
I like to commend him for like being able to take this team on his back when Kawhi's out,
I think it's mostly that he like in the past has kind of disappeared when like needed. But it's just like let's not pretend like he's the only guy who has done that. And also I do feel like he's gotten over that hump the last few years. I'm not like I'm neutral on him, but it is he does get a lot of hate and it's bizarre.
Yeah, Pandemic P, I think was one of the nicknames they gave him.
Yeah,
that's tough. But the Lakers are definitely a big topic. In the offseason, I wasn't impressed at all when they signed Russell Westbrook.
See,
I was
literally was like, they're winning the title. Like
really?
Yeah, like when they got all those guys, I was like, I don't know, say what you want, but like between Melo and Russ, I'm like Melo is showing out.
No,
that was a perfect fit
Mm.
for him, and I'm so excited. But yeah, I'm not. Everyone calls me like a closet Lakers fan. It's not that. I just like a lot of the guys on the team. I'm not concerned still. Like I feel like this was just like it was going to happen just because of all the new players and the fact that they all play so differently and now have to adjust. So for me, I'm just like, yeah, they're going to hit a rough patch and then they're going to figure it out. So I'm not really worried. I feel like everyone's like, oh, they're out. Like they'll barely make the playoffs. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I still feel like they're going to be like top 5 easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's LeBron. Let's be honest. How low will LeBron actually be? No, once he comes back, he's the greatest player on earth. They'll be fine. I don't know if I'm not convinced. I don't think it's going to work. I don't see Russell Westbrook really clicking with LeBron and Anthony Davis and Melo all on the floor at the same time. I don't know if it's a lineup issue. It has to be a coaching issue. He has to figure out what works best for him. I feel like Russ has always been that go-to guy on the teams he's been on. The plays run through him, the offense runs through him. So the fact that he has 3 other guys that the offense runs through them, I feel like it's tough for him. But obviously they'll adjust to the Lakers. He's LeBron. I would be surprised if they don't make the Western Conference Finals because LeBron in the playoffs, he's always a different breed. But your thoughts on the Lakers, Kaylee?
Well, like I remember during the whole trade stuff, whenever they finally finalized everything, I was like, there's a lot of little oldies here. I was like, and I started creating this nickname whenever I talk to my friends. I was like, the retirement hosts. You mean like they're just
man.
like they're all like all-stars and Hall of Famers, like for sure. I never doubt that, but it's almost kind of like, I don't know how that works like in the long run when you have so many older players on your roster and a lack of young people, because it's like when things get tough, when people get injured, like say LeBron's injured, like who's going to be able to step up and not get injured and be able to play all the games that they're out, and then it comes to chemistry and dynamic, I'm like, these are big role players you're trying to basically make all play together, and I'm like, that can be difficult. I'm like, that's a really huge thing for the coach to do. So I was like, if they pull it off, amazing, like you did it. But if not, it's going to be almost a train wreck. And I feel like this is showing right now with the whole kind of in and outs of their games that it's like they show a lot of potential, and I hope that they can get it together. And again, it's early in the season, so I'm kind of like, I'm gonna make the jokes of like it's just a bunch of oldies,
Yeah.
you know. But like I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm sure that they're gonna have some sort of ranking. They'll be there. Like just expect them to be there, you know. So
Yeah, definitely. They're the Lakers. I actually want to compare them to the Bulls because the Bulls got so many pickups in the offseason. I really didn't think it was going to work either, but they're making it work over there in Chicago.
It's
And
actually crazy to me how many people doubted that what the Bulls were doing was a good idea. And I do think a lot of people just hadn't watched the Bulls at all when they were making these claims, but like the amount of hate that the DeMar signing got, and I was like, guys, we got DeMar. Like, I mean, I say we because I'm in Chicago, but it's just like DeMar DeRozan, like he's gonna figure it out, even if you might not see it right away how this fits on paper. And he is thriving. He's by far my favorite Bull. Like I just feel like it was the perfect fit. And so it was interesting to me that people were just like, oh, they spent too much money on him. They just wanted a big name. It's like, no, I think they just wanted someone that would fit well alongside like Vooch and Levine and whatnot. I think the Lakers are gonna have a harder time though, just because of all those egos.
yeah, that's definitely when they in the offseason when they picked up all those people, I was like, oh, this is going to be an ego issue for sure because there's so many big names, so many all-stars. You know what I mean? I said this last night. I think the Lakers, and I know this is a crazy take, I think they would have been better off if they didn't sign Russell Westbrook. I think that the team would have clicked better without him. Just the Melo signing was huge. I mean, he's been huge off the bench. He's like our Tyler Hero, basically. He comes off the bench. He produces a lot of points. His three-point shot, he's looking like his Knicks days, and it's actually fun to watch. I've always been a Melo fan for the longest. But yeah,
Me
definitely.
too. I was literally set on naming my son Melo. Like in fifth grade. I don't know why. The only two players I ever followed were Wade and Melo. And I was like, oh my God, I love this man. Like I'm naming my kid after him. Like I have been ride or die. So like to me, this is just so exciting that like he was able to join this team and go off. I will at least say like I respect Russ in the fact that he had some quote the other day about him being on like quite a few teams over the last few years and him just needing to like kind of reconstruct his game based on that offense. And I don't think people necessarily are taking that in mind as much as they should be, because I think to your point, like everything used to run through him and he is used to a certain thing. And so now that he has to keep kind of starting over, I think he'll figure it out, but at least like his ego's not showing yet. So I'll give him credit. I think it will probably start coming out if things don't. I think if they don't start picking things up, the frustration is going to show kind of across the board. But I am curious to see like if they're going to figure out because it is still early.
Yeah, definitely. I know when they beat us in the finals, they had so many role players. They didn't have, the star power that they do now. But Westbrook's ego has definitely been a reason why I am not a Russell Westbrook fan. I've never been a Russell Westbrook fan because of, I mean, obviously I don't know him personally, but the way that he does carry himself on the court, the way that he acts, I personally don't like it. That's why I didn't think it was going to work out, especially with LeBron, that I feel like once you enter an organization where LeBron is there, everything changes. You know what I mean? Your game has to change, your attitude, everything as soon as you walk through the door. So, I mean, yeah, I hope it doesn't work out because obviously I don't want it to work out because, I'm still mad at them for beating us in the finals. But the Warriors are definitely a team that gives me nightmares because I know when they play the Heat, that's gonna be
tough.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. I mean, obviously, I think we can beat them. I think we can beat anyone. Once again, I'm biased, but the Warriors are a really good team, and they don't even have Klay Thompson,
Exactly.
who apparently is getting closer. I think something came out today that he's getting quite close to his return, so that's scary. I hate the Warriors, so this like pains me from every. I was watching the Warriors Bulls game, and I was just like, why is this on? Like, I'm like it. It was just such a clinic that I was just like, and Clay's not here. Like Dre gets undermined. I can't with them. I respect the talent, but just that team I can't stand. And now they have Iggy. Like I already miss him.
Same, and he's playing so well. I saw him like roll to the basket and dunk, and I was like, Eric Spoelstra, it's your fault. Yeah, like it has to have been a coaching issue because if Iggy could have produced like that, it was definitely a coaching issue. So,
and then we also have to talk about MVP candidate Seth Curry. Curry, like literally, it's scary how much like he's already like wrapping up his sheet of like points and the way he's playing games right now, because if he keeps this up, then I don't see any really like big question of whether or not he could not be MVP, And of course, people are probably gonna ask like, oh, but what about the Heat? What do you think Jimmy could be MVP? You know, and it's like we wish, but it's like if Curry's gonna keep this up,
Yeah, let's be realistic.
it's gonna be scary.
That's the thing. It's like I love Jimmy to death, and like I think he would deserve to at least be in the conversation. But like, let's keep it real now. Like, just look at Steph and look at how early it is.
Yeah, even I can't be biased on that because I really can't. I think Steph is averaging like 38 points per game. That is actually inhuman. I don't even remember the last time someone averaged 38 points per game. If he continues that and averages that through the end of the season, I will actually be really impressed. You know, he's the greatest shooter of all time. Every time he touches the basketball, and it's going in. So,
and it looks so effortless, which is what kills me. I am not a Steph fan. Like, as I love his game and he is so crazy talented, but like there's something I just don't like he's like too much of a golden boy, and I just like I don't vibe with people like that. It's like I need some grit. Like I need to see a flaw in you to like vibe with you. But if I'm even sitting here being like, yeah, I don't see how anyone is gonna surpass it, it's like it's saying something, because it's just like I'm just like, can something be wrong with you? Like, you're just too squeaky clean. It's boring.
Yeah, perfect family, perfect life, perfect kids, perfect wife, perfect game, good team. It's like,
and effortless. Like, it's just like, I know he puts in work for it. I'm not saying otherwise, but when he's playing, it's just like, it looks like it's just second nature. And like, he barely has to do anything for all those shots to drop.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Steph Curry has had a bad game this season so far. And if it's a bad game, it's like, oh, he scored 26. That's bad for Steph. Like, that's crazy.
Like,
once they get Clay back, they're going to be a huge threat. I see them coming out of the West 100%. I think maybe they play Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals. I would really like to see that. I like Phoenix. I hope that they get another chance to get a chip. I don't think that they're going to win a chip anytime soon, but I hope Chris Paul, you know, eventually gets that ring, because I'm a huge Chris Paul fan. So, but the Warriors playing the Heat in a 7-game series, I don't know if I can be biased there.
That's really scary.
I would say 7 games, maybe, hopefully.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of a hard argument to make, even like just digging really deep as a Heat fan. It's just like, maybe we could go to 7. That's like the best that I can give you at this point.
Yeah, but it's
It'd be
also
that's the only thing. It's really hard fought.
Yeah. I mean, we're dogs. We always fight no matter what. But it's also really early in the season. We don't even know where we're gonna be in the middle of the season. Hopefully, you know, at the top of the East. I hope if we can start winning games. I think we should have won every single game we've played so far. Like every single game, I think we should have won. We should have been what the Warriors are right now. It's obviously a little bit disappointing with injuries. Jimmy and Strus having those injuries, but I think we're good nonetheless. I mean, there's not really much to be worried about now. It's so early. Heat fans freak out way too early. Let's be honest. It's been like 15 games, probably less, and everyone's like, it's that SpongeBob meme where he's in his head and there's like a fire and everyone's running. Yeah. That's exactly what happens after a loss with this fan base, which is funny because I'm part of the people that's running around with like on fire. So, but I'm not worried. You know, I have high hopes for this Heat team. Definitely, I think that we can actually win a title.
We've had like a tough schedule. We've been fighting some really big teams, you know, like at least now in these next few games, we're fighting OKC and we're fighting, what's the next one after OKC?
The Pelicans.
Like,
better be a win.
This will be much more like a little bit more relaxed, and it should be a lot easier to like gain a win and close it, hopefully. But yeah, like hopefully now we can just start winning some more games and relax a little bit more, and hopefully everyone can get healthy again, you know.
And I'd rather go through these struggles now than like later on down the line when things are down to the wire. It's like figure it out now. And also people need to understand, like, we had some huge changes to the roster. People are just like, oh, well, like Bam and Tyler and Jimmy. And it's like, all right, cool. But they also need to now adjust their game because Tyler's in a new role and Kyle exists. So like Bam and Jimmy look different too. Like, it's going to happen. I do agree that we probably could have won most of the games we lost, but it's just like, they're still figuring it out. The Duncan shooting slump obviously didn't help us either, but better now than like down the stretch or in the playoffs. So if this has to happen, I'll take it now.
Yeah, I'll definitely take going through adversity now than in the middle or towards the end of the season, which is fine because obviously we learn from it, and we're not the type of organization to make mistakes twice.
No,
you know, if we lose 2 in a row, we don't lose 3. That's just how it is, playing with the Heat. But yeah, I'm not worried at all. I mean, these next stretch of games are easy games. They're winnable games. Definitely. I think it's like 6 easy games in a row. We should be winning 6 straight. But knowing us, there's always a little Heat killer somewhere. And then, but the schedule coming up looks kind of easy. Let me not
Hopefully we
say
don't bite our
easy
tongue.
and
Yeah.
jinx it or anything.
Yeah.
But we should get these 6 wins against DC. The Pelicans are in there. I think some bad teams, so we should get those wins. Put us on top of the East again, hopefully. So yeah, do you guys have anything you want to add? Anything you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I think it's, there's a lot that we could have already taken away from the losses. And I think to your point, like if we're going to lose, at least take a lesson from it. And I think they're going to adjust. And I also think, looking at stuff from a different lens, like Caleb Martin probably wouldn't have had as much play time if we weren't in this situation. And like he, he's rough around the edges still, but there's moments when I'm like, I see the glimpse and I understand why they signed him. Yeah. So it's just like, to me, I would rather just look at it that way and be like, if this wasn't happening, we wouldn't have gotten to see like what he could potentially do. I've been very vocal against Heat Twitter. It just drives me nuts. Like the like flip flopping and like just like being so fickle. And it's just, this is the game. Like this is what's going to happen. It's a long season. We just started. I would rather take the good and then focus on the bad and just keep going. Like I said, if we have issues down the line, this might be a different conversation, but it's early. Duncan looks like he's coming back. Jimmy's obviously going to shake off the injury. Keith will be back. Like we're good. And I'm not worried either.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're definitely fine. But Caleb Martin, I just want to say I love Caleb Martin. I honestly think he's like a diamond in the rough because there's something under there, once he gets like the work in and the experience and working with the Heat, I really think, he could be a vital part. I really do believe that because, Max Strus comes off the bench and he's, producing also. Obviously, it's not a lot, but he's coming out, he's making shots. And that's what Caleb Martin is doing too. He's getting rebounds, he's driving really hard to the basket, and he's creating his own offense, which is surprising, which, whatever. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Heat. I think once we get all our players back, we'll be fine. We learned from this West Coast trip. Definitely, there was a lot of inconsistencies and flaws and not being able to close out games. That was not really concerning, but it was more like annoying being a fan watching us be up by 27 and only winning the game by 6 or 7 points, which is obviously unacceptable. But I think we'll be fine. These games coming up, I think we'll win. No reason to freak out. And with the Heat Nation, with the Heat fans, let's just calm down a bit. Definitely, they're fickle, of course. I've definitely seen that now. My whole timeline is filled with Duncan Robinson love, so it's kind of weird.
I can't.
But
this morning between the PJ stuff and that, I'm just like, oh, I can't. Like, really? I feel like half these people need like 2 different accounts where it's like their burner of where they can like talk crap, and then the other one, because it's just like, you look crazy. Go back and look at your own timeline. Literally from 2 days ago, you look crazy. You're trying to get rid of Duncan, and then all of a sudden now your timeline just like, I had faith all the time. I'm like,
that's literally me right now.
Did you black out when you were tweeting before? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, that was literally me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
at least
so
you're owning
mad.
it though. I'll take that.
Yeah,
oh yeah, for sure. I tweeted like, "Oh, Duncan Robinson, you're terrible. Get off my team." But then I'm like, I'm sorry, you guys.
Kidding.
I actually didn't mean
sorry.
that. It was a joke. It was actually a joke. I was trolling. But yeah, he Twitter definitely is a very weird place at times. Definitely with the he Twitter is inconsistent. Like it really is.
That's it.
But I think we're fine. Everyone freaks out for no reason. I mean, I freak out too. So
yeah.
But at least I own it, like you said. You know what I mean?
That's it. If you're gonna do it, then own it. Don't be like, oh no, I had faith the whole time, and I'm like, I can go bring up like 10 tweets from literally 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like someone's gonna be watching this and be like, why are they so loud? Like, oh my gosh, like stop. Like, don't do that to me. Like, we know who you are. We saw you. Like, you can't hide. We saw you.
Oh, I got names. I got a whole list running of people to call
I'm bookmarking
out.
tweets. I'm bookmarking tweets now. Like, I'm getting you guys. Like, once Duncan Robinson
I'm
keeps
just
consistency.
silent night about it right now. Like, I'm just sitting on it, but like, just wait. Like, we're gonna be halfway through the season, and I'm just gonna go Buck. Even honestly, people on the 5 Reasons Network, I'm like, I'm coming for you because I see what you guys are talking about
Like
day
a whole
in and
like
day out.
burn book.
Yeah.
Basically,
Oh,
that's the perfect way to put it.
yep. A burn book with at names,
Yeah.
screenshots of all the tweets they've ever tweeted that were mean. Like, yeah. Heat Twitter is a funny place, but I can't lie. I've been one of those people. So, I mean, I feel like somewhat we've all been, there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're good. Heat Twitter we'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, we could basically wrap up. I feel like we've hit a couple good topics,
Amazing
with
topics.
major topics. But I can't wait for the season to keep going to see how we learn from all these mistakes, how we deal with adversity, and keep pushing. Hopefully, I see a really bright future with this team. Truly, I think we have all the pieces. I don't think we're missing any piece. I think we have everything we need to win a chip. Honestly, but once again, I'm biased. Sorry, I try my hardest not to be biased, but I am. I mean, I love the Heat so much. I'm just like, yeah, we could be everyone when it's not realistic. But I definitely do see a bright future for this team.
Yeah. I think we can just wrap up there because we did a lot of discussing, a lot of good
Yeah,
combos.
yeah, I could keep going all
But
day, especially about Heat
yeah.
Twitter. I mean,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
this has been a
you know
blast.
you
Thank you
are.
so much for having me on.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
of
much for
course.
coming on.
Yeah, it's been an honor to have you.
Yeah, and especially on our first
Anytime,
episode.
just let me know. I promise I'll be more energetic next time too. If it's on a Sunday after I decide to take a few too many tequila shots to the face, but this has
Oh
been
yeah, that's a
awesome.
tough one. That's a tough one. No,
Yeah.
but thank you so much. This is our first episode of Culture Shock, so having you on there, it's an honor. It was so fun, talking about everything in the NBA, and I love how you feel about the Heat Twitter thing because that's exactly how I feel. So,
Well, I'm glad someone else backs me because I feel like it's usually just being like, "This is how fandom goes," and I'm like, "Is it though?" Because I
Is it
feel like
really?
we're on an island on our own, and then I'm like going against Heat Twitter, and everyone's like, "But you're a Heat fan." I'm like, "Okay, but I don't act like the rest of you do on Twitter, so I'm gonna take a step back and be critical now."
Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
the calmness. You're the calm
Mhm.
head. So, but that's good.
That's what I try to
We
be.
definitely need that on Heat Twitter. It gets a little crazy over there. But yeah, so we're gonna wrap up. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We had a great time, and we hope to get you on the pod. In the future. Down the line, maybe playoff time or mid
No,
season. That would
anytime.
be
I'm happy
awesome.
to jump on. I love what you guys are doing. I'm all for, obviously the women empowerment, but also just like
Prime.
I don't know if I actually know, like in my close life or even online, like female Heat fans. Like I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like there's not that many that are like loud and proud. Like I am so supportive of what you guys are doing. So anytime, let me know and I'll jump on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, and being women, it's obviously tough. We're trying to do something that's never been done before, and obviously we're gonna get a lot of hate for it because since we're women, people think we don't know basketball, but we do clearly.
Mhm.
So yeah, but thank you so much, for coming on the show and having us for a little while. Thank you so much for watching the first official episode of Culture Shock.
And thank you to Joel from He versus the World and Jules, our producer, and 5 Reasons for giving us a platform. And a special thank you to Allana for being our first ever guest.